Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. We have a very special guest on this week, Hog Hoops insider Kevin McPherson. Kevin, it was kind of nice to see yesterday during the South Carolina game that basketball was still featured. Eric Musselman coming out with a big surfboard to preview the Maui Invitational and get everybody excited. I'm going to be honest with you, I want the surfboard.
Yeah, who doesn't want the surfboard? That's cool, right? That's a memorabilia worth keeping.
Oh, for sure. I wonder how much that costs. I mean, if you were to get that made.
I don't know, but Arkansas better focus on basketball when they're in Maui and do the surfing. I mean, if you're winning and you're surfing, fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But you have to win before you get to surf, right?
That's my that's my philosophy. So we'll see what they do. But that's
We
in
will.
November though. We got a ways away.
We
It's really
do.
not that far away. It's really not now that we're in September, but having played through that Euro tour not that long ago, they're still in limited practices right now. Can't wait to talk about that. But you're right. You saw that surfboard out at Reynolds Razorback Stadium over the weekend. It just reminds you, as good as football is right now, basketball is going to be really good too. This will be a team, as Arkansas in football got ranked top 10 today by the Associated Press. Arkansas is probably going to be in most of the preseason top 10 rankings when we start talking about basketball.
Exactly. And like you said, I want to talk with you about Arkansas basketball practice right now. What does it look like and who's standing out in those practices for you?
Well, the thing is, Arkansas's back to limited practices, so it's 4 hours a week, and that's only temporary. The stakes will be raised. The court instruction time is going to go up for the season soon, but it's been 4 hours a week. So typically they cut that up to maybe 4 practices, 1 hour each. They get a lot done. Musselman practices move fast. But just recently, looking at the past week, and I wrote about this in my Hoop Hogs notebook in just the last few days, that Arkansas spent a lot of time focused on the defensive side of the ball, which is no surprise when we keep saying that's been the identity of Musselman's success at Arkansas. They get things correct on the defensive end. Everything else kind of falls into place around it. Top 10 2 years ago in the first Elite Eight team, according to KenPom, in defensive efficiency. Then number 11 last season at a return trip to the Elite Eight. We know both of those teams finished in the national top 10 rankings. So it kind of shows you what the blueprint's been as defense. They spent a lot of time working on drills. They continue to work on things to get better on that side. We go back to Europe. Musselman initially wasn't pleased with the discipline and some of the gambling. And then as the event moved on, he tightened the rotation and they got better and better defensively, to the point at the end when they played their toughest competitor, the pro team out of Denmark. It was their best defensive effort from start to finish, and he was elated with it. So they continue to work on that, though, because we know that even when you start to see some things as a positive, even last year and the year before, we talked about how they finished defensively in national rankings. They had some really rough patches midway through the season, late December, early January. And so you're always working on things. That's why defense remains a priority. Now, Arkansas also in the past week worked on some passing drills. We know in Europe they suffered a lot of turnovers. I think they averaged 21 a game. Passing is part of that. I think some of them were telegraphed. Some of them were ill-conceived. So I think they're working on some nuance in the passing game to help players kind of move along in that regard, to help ball protection. But I think the biggest thing that might be a negative from practice recently is the fact that I'm hearing Arkansas has really struggled shooting from three.
Oof.
That's what happened in Europe. That's what happened last season. Arkansas was excellent in other areas, like getting to the free throw line, and defensively, as we talked about, rebounding the ball, a lot of blue collar stuff, not a very good 3-point shooting team. Well, this is almost a new team, 11 newcomers, yet they've been struggling. In Europe, I think 27% from three.
Yeah.
Nick Smith Jr. was the only player, talking about standouts, who was efficient in volume and did it in volume. Everybody else, not so much. And so recent practices, I'm hearing they continue to struggle shooting from three. They chart all that stuff, so we'll keep an eye on it. You asked me about a standout. I know at least one dominating performance, I was told, was by transfer forward 6'9" Jalen Graham, who was second team All Pac-12 last year in his third season at Arizona State. He transferred in the offseason. We know that. Didn't get a lot of run in Europe in terms of being in that top 8 minutes or role, but he had a dominating effort recently, and I think coaches want to see him be more consistent and bring more of that. So that's one guy that stood out. So I know we've also got some preseason accolades to talk about. What What do you think about that, Courtney?
Well, I was about to ask you, one of the guys that I'm excited to see on the court this year is Nick Smith Jr. And I know Arkansas's Pro Day is coming up in October, and he's somebody that NBA scouts could possibly see playing in the league as soon as next year. What preseason attention is he getting? What preseason honors did he pick up?
Well, just recently, Blue Ribbon's annual yearbook, which is the thickest basketball publication I've ever
Yes.
seen, and it dates back to when I was in elementary school, junior high. Blue Ribbon's been around forever, very well respected, but the yearbook is thick with information. But Blue Ribbon has picked Arkansas number 6 preseason as a team. Nick
Wow.
Smith Jr. They've picked him all SEC. That's no surprise. But they've also picked him as the national newcomer of the year. Now that's not really a surprise either, given that he's the number 1 prospect out of that class of 2020 in
Yeah.
terms of not only most of the final rankings, national player of the year, and then you look at the mock drafts that have him as the top player coming out of this as a one and done. So when you
Yep.
add all that, he's really the top prospect. No big shock, but it's still nice to see if you're Nick Smith and the Razorbacks to get that kind of preseason, publicity. But here's a guy I keep saying, Nick Smith. You talk about the pro day, the NBA folks I talk to, scouts I talk to all the time, love him as a 1-2 punch as a point guard
Wow.
at the next level. 6'5" with 6'9" plus wingspan, and a guy that can facilitate, sees the floor, helps other guys. But a 5-level scorer, man, at the rim, getting to the baskets with runners, floaters, and little spinners, pull up mid range, 8, 15, 19 feet, almost a dying aspect of the game. And then efficient volume 3-point shooting. That's 4 areas. And then he's clutch. He makes shots at the end of games. He makes shots at the end to beat buzzers. So to me, that's another dimension. I'll say it that way. But here's a guy that I think is worthy of all the accolades. And there'll be other Razorbacks too, because this is the number 1 recruiting class coming in with those 11 newcomers in the country.
Yeah, he is such a special player. You talk about all those aspects. I mean, it is going to be so exciting to see him in action. We got to see a little sneak peek in Europe, but now getting into, college basketball and seeing him play in that environment, I am so excited to see that. And all the guys on this team. And
Yeah.
speaking of college basketball, that SEC schedule came out. Anything pop out to you on Arkansas' schedule this year?
Absolutely. It's the toughest schedule that Eric Melsman has had at Arkansas, and it's not even close. We already knew the non-conference was shaping up that way. When you talk about Maui and the surfboard, believe me, the surfboard becomes an afterthought when you got to go win games, and that's a loaded field. Arkansas opens with Louisville, not as strong as typically Louisville is, but still some of those other games in weight. Winner of Creighton, Texas Tech, 2 powerhouses
Yeah.
in college basketball of late. And then you look at the other side of the bracket, there's some really good teams over there. So Arkansas is going to have its work cut out for it just in November. You've got Baylor on the road,
Ooh.
arguably the top program in college basketball combined the last 2 seasons, that SEC Big 12 Challenge in January. And you've got Oklahoma, who took Arkansas behind the woodshed last year in Tulsa. They've got them again in December. That's away from home. So you got a lot of games in the non-conference. You mentioned the SEC coming out with its schedule, so you're already worried about that non-conference schedule, and now the SEC drops that 18 slate bomb on you. You've
Yep.
got Kentucky twice, we got Alabama twice. We knew that, but when you look at the dates and how those games fall in the round robin, plus you're going on the road to Tennessee, plus you're going on the road. I'm leaving somebody out here. Auburn. So
Yeah.
you've got Alabama and Kentucky at home, but you've also got them both on the road, plus Tennessee and Auburn. Those are going to be your top rated teams coming into the season. They're all going to be preseason ranked. Kentucky will be number one, anywhere from 1 to 5 and pick to win the SEC, went 1 to 5 nationally. And so you've got all 4 of those opponents on the road and only 2 of them at home. Plus, when you look at the way that the schedule lays out, Arkansas does get back-to-back-to-back games sandwiched around that Baylor road game in
Mhm.
SEC play, but they finish the season on the road at Bama, on the road at Tennessee, and then they get Kentucky at home. So there's a brutal stretch right there. 4 of their first 6 games to open league play are on the road, including that Alabama game. So, there's nothing easy about this schedule. When I put it all together, I cram sandwich the non-conference and SEC slate. It's by far, I mean, there's at least 9 to 10 road games that should be quad 1-win opportunities. Not as many at home. Kentucky and Alabama, you hope, should be. But there's going to be plenty of opportunities to have a strong resume, even if you drop some of those games, Courtney, during the season. Arkansas
Mm.
don't expect is going to go undefeated.
What is it with Arkansas getting hard schedules? Sam Pittman, now Eric Musselman has one. It's like, what are they trying to do with the Arkansas coaches here?
Well, it's a good problem to have because
Mhm.
there's opportunities to really build a resume,
Yeah.
especially in basketball where you're wanting good seating. There's also pitfalls. I mean, if you drop a good number of those games, it's going to affect your seating as well. So, and it's also Arkansas's been fortunate enough to play their best basketball starting midpoint of the season and just
Yeah.
carrying through to March. That's been the blueprint the last 2 years, and I brought up the defense as being the catalyst for that.
Yeah.
So you hope that the blueprint remains the same, even though this is the first time Eric Musselman's turned over nearly the entire roster. Usually it's about half. This time it's all of it. But the talent again, to me, it's all about at some point in time getting that talent on the chemistry there,
Yeah.
the rotations right, and the personnel right. And Musselman's been a master of that, even if it takes a while. And if he gets to the point where he's confident with it and you start to see the results with all that talent, whatever he drills it down to, that gives Arkansas a chance in any game against anybody anywhere. They showed it the previous 2 years, and I think that'll rise up again. I think this is looking at it just from a distance on paper right now. It's the makings of a Final Four
It is.
kind of season. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but they've got the building blocks there.
Oh, they definitely do. Now, really quick before we let you go, Kevin, give us a recruiting update right now with this Arkansas basketball team. I saw you writing some things about them putting their footprint in Texas with some of the Texas players.
Woo. Friday was the first day that the NCAA opened that recruiting period back up where coaches could go on the road. Arkansas was in Texas full force. Eric
Wow.
Musselman, Gus Argenal in to see Ron Holland, the five-star 2023, took his official visit back in June, has Arkansas among his top Final Four schools, along with UCLA, Texas, and Kentucky. He's visited all of them. Plus, NBA G League Ignite is still on the table for him, but he's a guy that Arkansas is prioritizing. So Eric Musselman, Gus Argenal in to see him. Dink Pate, class of 2024, four-star. Trey Johnson, the number one player in 2024, a five-star. These are just some of the players. Wesley Yates from 2023, Arkansas is still trying to get him on for an official visit. One service has him a five-star. Rivals,
Oh,
6'4" guard out of Beaumont, Texas. So you got a lot of guards. That forward, Ron Holland, I mentioned that Arkansas really canvassed the state on Friday. And then as this week evolves, you're going to see Arkansas presence in Central Arkansas. I think Wednesday, Gus Argenal is going to be here to see 2024 Honor Boateng, national top 36 four-star 6'5" wing at Little Rock Central.
mm.
You're going to see him out for Dallas Thomas, national number 27, high-level four-star at a Little Rock Parkview 6'8" wing. When you start talking about some of the younger players, just Sean J.J. Andrews, class of 2026. He's the son of former Arkansas football All-American Sean Andrews, who
Oh,
played in the NFL as an All-Pro lineman, but class of 2026 at Little Rock Christian Academy. Layden Blocker, who's committed to Arkansas, recently bumped up to five-star status in that 2023
we
class.
love
Hey,
that.
listen, he just got selected. He'll be at Team USA minicamp, by the way, in October.
Oh,
Want to throw
wow.
that in there. But his younger brother, Landrin, class of 2024, is still at Little Rock Christian Academy, along with Jashawn Andrews, who I just mentioned. But Blocker's a big 6'4" guard. Both blockers attack the rim with vengeance. So Arkansas coaches are going to have a chance to see a lot of talented players in Central Arkansas. Eventually and soon, class of 2025 Hog offer, Terrion Burgess, 6'8" wing down in Benton here in Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas, the coaches will be out to see them. Now, real quick, next weekend, we're going to be talking about five-star Bayfall, four-star Sonny Diop teammates, 6'10 plus, both of them. That's their official visit weekend to
Ooh.
Arkansas, the 16th through the 18th. I mentioned Dallas Thomas, David Castillo, a guard out of Oklahoma, 2024 five-star, top 10 guy. Those two will be on unofficial visits that same weekend. So we've got four visitors, two official, two unofficial. And Courtney, this is big time football season, but all this stuff I'm talking about, all these names, all that basketball is 365 days a year.
It
And
is.
I'm dropping all these names, and it's, what we talk about how good Arkansas is expected to be on the court, but look how good they've been in recruiting.
Yeah, it is.
Eric
There.
Musselman has been lights out in recruiting, and you don't get there, you don't achieve that unless you're just pounding that pavement, getting on the road the
Mhm.
first second you can, hitting as many prospects as you can, casting that wide net. And Arkansas is in on so many five stars and luring so many five stars on the campus for visits. Again, you've got a lot of competition for these guys, but it's a good problem to have when your program's so attractive that they have that mutual interest to come see you.
It's a huge asset, and it's something this Arkansas team does so well. We know Eric Musselman and his staff are fabulous recruiters. I have no doubt that these guys, all of these guys, will at least have Arkansas on their radar. But thanks so much, Kevin, for coming on the show again. We always appreciate having you.